You probably recognize Girls' Last Tour. It's got a cult following and shows up in memes from time to time. With its cutesy main characters and very fitting art style, it's just so easy to love and just as easy to bring into jokes. But there was a vibe that I caught from it every time I saw it that forced my hand into watching it. This is a spoiler-free recommendation, so if you're worried about getting spoiled of this amazing show, you won't get spoiled by me. And if you want to watch more of these recommendations, I've got a few. Here's a playlist up there, which I've probably just created as I'm editing this. And please subscribe. Enjoy the recommendation. Girls' Last Tour is an autumn 2017 anime animated by White Fox. It is an adaptation of a 6-volume adventure/slice-of-life manga written by Tsukumizu, who, by the way, has some elite work. Girls' Last Tour takes place in the post-apocalypse, with our two main characters, Chito and Yuri. They ride around in a kettenkrad, which is a very important thing to bring up. There is a lot of war imagery. The two girls are clad in uniform, fit with combat boots and helmets. Hell, Yuri even walks around with a Type 38 rifle. I don't know much about army stuff, but the pair have a mismatch of equipment that do have actual names. Chito is the driver of the kettenkrad and is much more knowledgeable and thoughtful, whereas her friend Yuri is much more hopeful and airheaded. The pair explore their city in an attempt at survival, interacting with this war-torn city and trying to infer information about a world they were never able to witness. And through that exploration, as the pair get further and further through the city on their kettenkrad, the themes are explored to an incredible degree. My praises first lay with the animation/art style. Firstly, I would like to say their use of 3D wasn't overboard and was in fact reasonable. I think it helped with the vibe it was bringing. The destroyed and desolate city was an incredible backdrop to such cute character designs. I like that the pair are very round. Their rounded features are very nice to look at. And despite their childish looks, I do like how the army equipment helps them settle into their looks. I like how the helmet makes Yuri look more dopey. I also like the fact that they are wearing different equipment, like Yuri's winter coat. Their childish appearances should clash with the equipment and the world they are inhabiting, but it helps us understand the scenario at hand. The world itself is nicely detailed. Obviously, the desolate city has already been mentioned, but every so often the pair reach a large expanse. These huge open areas filled with a repetitive motif, and other than that, it's completely open. Not only are these pretty with their choices of colours, but they give off a vibe of loneliness and mystery. It makes us wonder what they are or why they exist, and remind us that because there is no one else there, the girls are alone. One of these specifically reminded me of the bamboo forest from Monogatari, and how that was drawn. My next praises lay with the plot of each episode. I was afraid that they would be repetitive, but as each episode goes on, we learn more and more about these characters and this world. The whole time, our information on the world is leveraged against their information on the world. But we don't know what happened in their world, much like they don't know basic information that our worlds share. We are learning more and more about their reality whilst the girls are too. And not only that, but the girls are exploring their feelings too, all throughout their exploration. Whilst I cannot go into details about specific episodes, my favourite episodes are almost contradictory. My favourite episode was a masterclass in building tension, or at least it felt like that for me, where the girls aren't really learning much, or at least stuff they could use. And by the end, the attachment isn't based in information, but each character's feelings about the world they inhabit. And my second favourite episode is all about gaining information. I'm reacting to such a visceral degree about the information the girls are learning just for it to cut to them, who are reacting in the opposite way. I was feeling sad for the girls, just for the pair to be filled with joy. I'm going to be completely honest with you here. The soundtrack is the one that deserves the most amount of praise. Sorry, Kevin Penkin, but this has to be the best overall soundtrack I've ever heard in any anime I've ever watched. It has songs reminiscent of Kevin's own work in Made in Abyss. It has songs that feel straight out of Nier Automata. And then there are songs, a few, that remind me of Bunny Girl Senpai. And not for a lack of a reason either. It has the wonder and explorative vibes of Made in Abyss, the melancholic post-apocalypticness of Nier Automata's soundtrack, and the bouncy curiosity and mystery of Bunny Girl Senpai's soundtrack. It invokes the best parts of soundtracks I love for the exact reason those soundtracks sound like they do, perfectly matching everything Girls' Last Tour is trying to be. If all these points felt like they were missing something, it's because I was waiting to talk about it all in one paragraph. The vibe of Girls' Last Tour. Girls' Last Tour is a melancholic, lonely story. Everything about it is building up that vibe. Within the art, which has a dichotomy between the small children in wide open, empty expanses, and the crushing reality of their war-torn city whilst they wear army clothing. The slow-paced story that mostly explores each of the girls' feelings for one another and their world, highlighting the differences between how they will survive and their curiosity for the world they never got to see. And then the music, which feels sad and melancholic and a billion other emotions that showcase the loneliness. However, the girls interact with it with a sense of wonder and curiosity beyond their own survival. They may live on rations and may constantly have to look for clean drinking water, but they interact with one another and the empty world with curiosity, wonder, interest, and intrigue. Something beyond the loneliness of the world. Yes, Cheeto may be more serious at all times, and Yuri has the survival instincts of a dead fish, but they balance off one another, and they keep going. Not in spite of what the world is, and not because of it either. They are just hopeful. And all of this, even though it's been very difficult to describe, and I've been off script this entire section, is why I love this anime. I don't know if that makes sense, but it pretty much encapsulates how I feel without outright spoiling anything. This is like a weird one, because I was pretty much debating what I should rate it out of 10 from episode 2, but I stopped myself from thinking about that until episode 7. Out of all the shows I've reviewed on this channel, this is a weird one because it went from possibly being a 7 during episode 7, if it fumbled the final few episodes, to me thinking it could be a 10 out of 10 at some points during the final episode. It's also the only one of these videos where I debated how to write it mid-season, episode 7 once again. And even then, I was like, even if it fumbled the ending, I'd still make a video on it, because I believed that what it had been up until that point was so good and had the vibe that people deserved to watch it, even if I didn't appreciate the ending as much. And if that doesn't sing this anime's praises, then I don't know what will. And right at the end, I'm adding a new section to these videos where I frustrate myself reading negative reviews of the show that I have just recommended to you. Negative reviews on my anime list. I look at the criticisms and I will point out the common thematities of these criticisms. This anime has an 8.25 average on my anime list and has 6 negative reviews. Those 6 people seem to agree on one thing, however, and that is that this anime is a slow show. It very much is. This show will not only take its time to go through the plot, but will sometimes sit on shots for a hot second, with the only things moving are the soundtrack and the wind. Another trend among these 6 people is that they seem to think it's a show with nothing going on, and that the plot is repetitive. I myself was worried early on that this show would become repetitive, but I don't think it did become repetitive. It is slow, and it does stick to the slice of life format, and if you're used to high action shows, especially with the high pace like Jujutsu Kaisen, this isn't going to be your cup of tea. My opinion on this show is formed on the fact that I put in effort to be invested, and I had my full attention on the show, which is rare for me nowadays. The feelings I felt whilst watching this show may have been unique to me, and because I put my full effort in paying attention and being invested in the characters and the setting. So if you don't like slow shows, or you like a lot of things happening, you like plot-driven shows, then this likely won't be within your palette. That doesn't say anything against you or this show. Some guy complained because he was frustrated that he didn't know the age of the characters, the main characters, who are clearly children, or at least teenagers. I don't normally call for witch hunts, but get that guy. So, If you like interesting slice of life adventure stories with the vibes of melancholy and post-apocalypse, with an elite soundtrack and killer visuals, this show is for you. I personally gave this show a 9 out of 10 on my anime list and in my personal rankings, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, please subscribe. Go on, please. Please, I'm begging you. Oh yeah, next week's video is different. Next week's video is different from what I originally planned. And next week, we're going to get one of my absolute faves to write. Should I care about lollies? So I'll see you next week with that. Please watch. Please. You need to hear my reasoning. Please. That isn't making me any better. I'm not a pedophile.